Friday, Stitchers. Caroline here. It is Friday, July the 5th. And I decided today was the perfect day to pull out the very first Flossmas ornament that I started last December, because I would really love to have this stitched up, finished, and fully finished, and be able to hang on my tree as a memento of last year's inaugural Flossmas 2018. So this was the very first ornament that I started with. This was the one designed by Patty Brake of 4boys and an nlgirl.ca. 4boys and a Newfoundland girl. You can see her website there. She's out in Newfoundland. She's a very good friend. And she designed this ornament as kind of the kickoff to our month-long celebration of stitching last December that we did, and we tied it into a fundraising effort for Beagle Paws United, which is a beagle rescue in Newfoundland. And we raised over $1,400 for that charity last December. Those were donations from Stitchers all over the world, and it was just a lovely thing that we did. So if you didn't watch those videos last December, or if you didn't, if you're new to my channel, it was Flossmas was something. Actually, it was something that Heidi Cran came up with from Stitching 1/2. The idea of Flossmas, where knitters would do daily holiday vlogs, and lots of other podcasters would do sort of vlogmas for Christmas and the month of December, and do daily videos. And she said, we should do something called Flossmas. And she said, I don't think I'm going to do it, because she didn't have a lot of time. And she said, I gift the idea to you. So I pirated the idea from Heidi Cran with her blessing, and Flossmas 2018 happened last year for the first time. I'd love to do it again this year. I will not do exactly the same thing that I did last year. What I did was I started a new ornament every single day for the month of December, and I used up the only sort of guidelines. Sorry about that. My dryer started making a very funny noise, and I had to go and figure out what was going on. One of my husband's pair of shorts has one of those drawstring waists, and one of the drawstrings had gotten caught in the drum of the dryer, and so was causing it to sort of scrape around nastily on the inside as it sort of twisted up on itself. So anyways, all fixed, all better, back in business. And I was talking about Flossmas 2018. And so what we did was, those who participated, we chose an ornament a day out of things that we had in our stash. So many of those just cross-stitch the ornament issues. I have a stack of them, and so I decided that this was going to be, last December was going to be the time that I went through and I chose the ones that I wanted to stitch, and finally made good use of those. And I had a few other Christmas holiday things. I also used this tote bag. Has it has the first third of my Flossmas stuff, and I had this ornament book from Rosewood Manor, and so I used a few patterns out of this as well. So it was sort of, the idea was to use what was in my stash, use the remnant fabric, thread that was in my stash, so on and so forth, and make it work. So this Flossmas ornament was the very first one, and because it is sentimental to me that Patty designed it for Flossmas, I want to finish it. So my goal this month is to complete the stitching and fully finish it into an ornament so that it's ready to go. And it's small, so I should be able to manage that. Fortunately for me, I wrote down everything at the time that I had decided to use for this ornament, so I just have to, you know, kind of remind myself where I was going. I was using some Victorian Motto Sampler Shop thread. This was a thread from the Victorian Christmas collection from last year. Her thread is beautiful. I've really enjoyed using it. So this cranberry red, now because I've already dipped into this skein and I used this color for several of other of my ornaments, I've prepared this skein so that it's ready to go for me to just use from the knot at the top. So I have not cut, but I've opened it up, and you know, I think they're longer than 18 inches. I can't remember how long the length is, but they're quite long. I have to cut it down again, but this just is the first step. So when you've prepared this and the ends are all loose like that, you can just pull one 6-strand length of floss from your knot. So you just sort of grab hold of that one that you've chosen, and then you just hold the rest. I just hold the rest with my thumb, and then you pull, give a pull, and as long as those ends are cut at the bottom, then the rest of it stays neat and tidy on your skein. I do the same thing with Weeks Dye Work and Crescent Colors, Classic Colorworks, excuse me. I do the exact same thing. I just put them back on the thing, take out the one length at a time, and then I just have to deal with the one that I've removed. So this length of thread I will cut in half again. So they're a little shorter than I probably would have used, but it makes it a lot more manageable. I don't really like stitching with a really long strand of thread. I know there are lots of other stitchers who do. And so until I have completed my stitching for whatever time period, I just wrap that up, put it on top of the floss, and then keep that to the side. And then when I'm done, I will put the rest of those leftover threads back in the skein. Or I'll put them all, another really handy thing is to put them all in a little floss away bag or a sandwich baggie, and then you don't have to tie them back onto the card. So easy peasy, and this is such a beautiful color. Such a beautiful color. I've got my 2 separate strands, put them back together. Now the reason for doing that, if you didn't know, to separate your strands out and then put them back together, is to eliminate as much twisting as possible, so that you're starting out with 2 strands of floss that are going to lie next to each other as flat as possible, as neat and tidy as possible. So we'll just get this needle threaded up. I'm using a 6-inch Q-snap today, and this is definitely mystery fabric. I have not a clue. It says here, I've named it as 32 count white even weave. And, you know, looking at the size of my stitches, that's a pretty good guess. I could measure it if I wasn't 100% sure and just count the squares in an inch to be absolutely sure. But looking at, you know, I've been stitching long enough that I look at the size of my X and I'm pretty confident that that's a 32 count. Very, very, very much a mystery even weave. I have no idea where it came from. It's just a scrap remnant. And because it is white and it's just an ornament, and I don't think I have to go. You've got my little Christmas sock needle minder. So let's keep that safe for me. There's an inner border that's what I was hoping to stitch next, was the inner border all along the inside there. And it's close enough. It's only going to be 1 square away from this one here. So I think I'm just going to tie my thread in on these stitches and then just carry it down 1 square. You might see it a little bit make sure I'm in the right spot here. You might see it a little bit from the front once it's fully finished, but it's going to be hanging on my Christmas tree amidst, a million other decorations. So I don't think that this is not the right color. Look at all that yap, yap, yappity yap. That's not the right color. You can tell. It is a different red. Okay, so let's check my notes. Cranberry red. What's the other one? Burgundy ribbons. I wonder if, yeah, you know what? I think this red was intended for one of the flowers on the inside. Oh, good thing I left notes. Okay, so now we're going to have to try and find the burgundy red and hope that it's in this project bag and not the other Flossmas project bag. So I'm going to put you on pause and I'm going to find my burgundy red. Hold, please. So after all that, I've changed my mind. I have decided that instead of adding a second border of the cranberry red, I'm going to switch it up and I'm going to put the inner border, I'm going to make the antique gold. That is going to match a couple of the little stars that are on the inside of this ornament, and I think that will please me. So I'm looking at this and it looks like I've already cut this in half again. So instead of leaving this really, really long length like the other one, I've already cut this. So these should already be in pre-cut. Yep, these are already in the shorter lengths. I'm not quite sure why I didn't do that with the other one. Anyways, doesn't matter. So the antique gold is going to match the stars that are on the inside. So I'm going to do this inner border with these guys here, with this skein. And I think that's going to look really pretty, because that is the beauty of stitching. Patty designed a beautiful ornament, and that's Patty's ornament. And I am going to stitch this ornament using what I have and the way I want to do it to, make her design for me. And knowing Patty, I think that will please her. All right. So this isn't much of a stitch with me video yet. I haven't even put in one stitch, and I'm probably at least 10 minutes in. Because I've had to stop recording a few times. I have no idea how long this has been going on. But anyway, I know you will. I know you're most likely just stitching your own project anyways. There we go. So I used to talk about this a lot, so I haven't mentioned this in a while. So if you haven't watched a stitch with me before that I've done and I haven't talked about it, I always start the back of my thread. Whoops, just pulled it back out there. I always start the back of my thread with a Bargello tuck, which is where you sew your end in until you can see the end of my thread is completely buried in the old stitches. And then you take your needle tip and you do one extra small tuck stitch that is going in the exact same direction as you've started with. So you're kind of looping that thread around the last little sip of thread there. And if you just do that and you've got that extra little loop and you give a nice little tug, your thread is really secure and it's neat and tidy on the back there. There's no knots, it's very secure, and all of your ends are buried. So it's a really neat and tidy way to start a new length of thread. Okay, so this is going to be one square away from that. Now, stitching on these smalls, the one thing I really like about these smalls, first of all, the small Q-snap. I find that I don't mind the 6-inch at all because it's nice and small. It's light. It fits easily in my hand. This hand, most of you know I've had some trouble with this thumb. It doesn't aggravate my hand at all to hold it. The 8-inch is starting to be a bit much for my hand, and the 11-inch is just misery. If I'm not using the Lowry, I just can't stitch it in hand anymore. So this little 6-inch, what I like about stitching in hand with a small Q-snap or a small hoop, if you prefer hoops, it forces me to go back to one-handed stitching, which slows me down just a little bit. And then it becomes even more of that sort of contemplative activity, which, let's face it, is one of the reasons why we love stitching so much. Just let me, I'm going rogue here. I haven't even looked at my pattern, so let's double check. Yes, okay, we have to go all the way to the end. So yeah, just forces me to slow down just a little bit and just enjoy every stitch. There we go. It is super, super hot here over the last couple of days. I think our heat warning started on Wednesday afternoon. It's either Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon. We're now at Friday. It is Friday. What time is it? It is 10:30, just past 10:30 in the morning on Friday. And we are having a bit of a heat wave, and the temperature is 31 degrees Celsius. I'm sorry, I can't translate that off the top of my head without looking it up. 31 degrees Celsius, but there's humidity is what is the real problem. And so with the humidity, it feels like about 41, 42 degrees. And, you know, we have had days that have been even higher humidity than that, but this is sort of the first blast of the season. And it's a scorcher out there. We are very fortunate to have air conditioning. Some of the rooms in this house are a little cooler than others. It's you know, when you have a house that has bits and pieces all over the place, central air can sometimes, you know, be a bit spotty in locations. And ours does pretty well, but some of our rooms tend to be a bit cooler than others, which I'm grateful to say that our bedroom is one of those places that's a little cooler, and which makes it nice for sleeping. So I'm up here in my bedroom at the moment, and that's why I'm able to get away with wearing a long sleeve shirt. So even though it's 41 degrees outside, and I mean, and we don't crank the air conditioner, but it's definitely nice and cool. The dryer is rattling some of the things in my bedroom if you hear funny little noises. I know sometimes if you're listening to this with headphones on, you hear a lot more of the ambient noises that are going on during these podcasts. So in case you were wondering, there's the dryer. So I hope this is in the screen enough if you're stitching along with me, if you're wanting to actually see what I'm doing. Hopefully you can see it okay. Oh, whoops. I thought it was only 2, but it's actually 4. So it's going to go the wrong way. There we go. Actually, that's not the dryer causing that. That's the washing machine. Our washing machine, we had to purchase a new one about a year ago. One of those things where when something goes wrong with an appliance, then all of a sudden 5 other appliances all go at the same time. Murphy's Law. So we had to get a new washing machine about a year ago. And it's our very first front-loading machine. And this thing, I kid you not, the first time we used it, we thought it sounded like a jet engine going off, and it, when it spins the clothes, it's quite something. Quite something. So when it goes, it rattles the some of the things in our bedroom here. I think I'm going to really like this inner layer of the antique gold. I think that's really pretty. I think I'm going to like that very much. Okay. We went out for breakfast this morning. It's our usual Friday morning tradition that John and I go out for a little weekly date to a diner that's just down the street. They have an inexpensive weekday breakfast, and we're able to normally drop the kids off at school, and then we'll go and do that together. But, being that it's summer vacation, Nicholas was home this morning, and we took him with us, and it was very nice. The girls there, the waitresses there, most of them know us quite well by now. And so it's always nice to go in there on a Friday morning and see a friendly face. And they have quite good coffee for a diner. It's actually very good coffee. So have a few coffees and we'll have a chat and sort of catch up on our week. And he and the kids are headed off to the cottage this afternoon. My daughter is, she's out for the day, but when she is done her thing that she's doing, they will leave for the cottage together. So it'll be her first trip up this summer. So I know she's looking forward to that. And I have a few other things going on this weekend, but as you know, I'm staying home because of the dog. The dog. The last couple of days, she's definitely slowly having a bit more difficulty. So we will continue to just take it day by day, and when it's time, we'll know. But it's been nice. I feel like we've been given a bit of a gift of extra time with her by taking her off the medication. She's been able to manage and be much more herself for this last little bit. So, as always, it's very sad. And I've heard from a few other people who have also either lost pets recently, or their pets are also like Daria at the end of their lives. And senior pet palliative care is it's tough, but it is it's a bit of a gift that I feel like I've been given a little bit of extra time with her. So I can't guess. She seems to have days that are better than others. So I don't even want to guess at this point. We just go day by day. But I will be spending most of my weekend downstairs with her. Our porch is now done. I'll show you pictures on Monday. I'll take some proper video on Monday of the finished porch, and I am in love with it. I'm just in love with it. We've got our old chairs are set up out there, so we've been able to have a coffee on the porch, and it has I'm just so thrilled with it. And what did I do? 1, 2, is that right? Oh yeah. I wasn't where I thought I was, but I actually didn't make a mistake. So we're good. I'll be spending, when the family's away, I get to just spend a lot of quiet time with the dog, which is really nice. I think I'll be working on Savon, doing a bit more stitching on Savon. I will also be trying to finish up the stitching in this little Flossmas ornament. I'm hoping I'd like to have the stitching done on it in the next week so that I can fully finish it maybe next weekend. I don't know. I don't like to be too specific in my goals because then I always feel like I haven't managed to do it. So I'm going to flip this around like that because I find that it's just easier on my thumb. So instead of my hand goes like this as I work my way over, I can hold it like more like this when the stitches are closer to my thumb. Does that make sense? I'm pretty cautious with this because I still feel it a little bit, and I'm really quite careful. Now, the only thing that you have to really watch for when you change directions with your stitching, of course, is that you want to make sure that that top leg of your stitch is always going the same direction. So when you turn it a quarter turn, all of a sudden your usual way of making your X has changed, because this way the top of my leg has been starting, going from the top left to the bottom right, whereas now I'm going to switch this, and now I'm going the other way. I'm in the bottom left, and I'm going to be going to the top right. So you just want to make sure that you take note of that so that you carry on with your stitching in the same direction. But I do find that it makes it a very convenient way to have your stitches, have them feel the most comfortable way to stitch them, at least for me. There we go. My jet engine washing machine seems to be slowing down, and in a minute it's going to sing me a little tune and tell me that it's done. Maybe, or either that, or it's just spinning down from the wash cycle and it's going to go into its rinse cycle. Do your appliances do that? Do they sing you a little tune when they're done? My mother has an oven that does that as well. Whoops, sorry, knocked the camera stand there. We are going to drive down to visit my parents next week to celebrate my dad's birthday. My dad, I don't know if he wants me to tell you how old he's turning this year. I don't care. I'm turning 45 this year. There you go. I don't mind everybody knowing my age, but maybe my dad doesn't want me to say. So I don't have his permission to tell you what birthday it is, but it's a special one. And so we are driving down there, and we're going out for dinner with my mom and dad and my aunt and uncle and my other aunt, who has traveled here all the way from British Columbia. Part of my father's family has lived out in British Columbia, well, since I was born. I mean, they've been out there, well, since before I was born. And so I visited there. The last time I went to Vancouver to visit family was, 1986, because I went to the Expo 86, which happened out in Vancouver. And I was 12 years old. And it was the most amazing time. I mean, it was really, really a phenomenally wonderful thing for a 12-year-old to be able to do. I flew out there by myself, which was so exciting I couldn't even tell you. At that time, I wasn't really afraid of flying. It didn't really faze me at all. That happened later in life. But my relatives were there to meet me, and I was able to stay with... my father came from a family of 6 children, and three of his siblings lived out there. So I stayed with all 3 of them during the course of my visit there. I think I was there for 2 weeks, and it was so much fun. So much fun. So my Aunt Teresa, who actually, that's where my middle name comes from, if you didn't know that, little tidbit. My middle name is Teresa, and it's spelled with an H. And so she is visiting here this summer. She tends to come most summers to visit. So she's here again this summer, and So it'll be nice to see her again. I haven't seen her since last summer. So that will be quite nice. And go out for a nice dinner. An adult dinner. So you know that the food's going to be really nice. I think, can I do one more? Yeah, okay. So I can do these last 2 stitches here. Make sure my leg is going the right way. I'm good. Okay. Just to double check. Do these last 2 stitches, and then I think my floss is, well, we'll see. I think I can do another 2. Let's go for it. I can hear Sasha the cat downstairs. I let her in this morning. I haven't seen her much over the last few days. I think she's been staying inside over at her own house with this heat. So it was nice to see her this morning, and she came in, and she loves Daria. They love each other. They kind of, rub noses, and Sasha does that funny thing that cats do where she arches her back as she's sort of rubbing her scent along, Daria's face. And they sort of give each other a little greeting. And then off she goes to explore the house and look for her snack. And I have a funny feeling she's gone up to the studio to have a nap. That's just the room that I call, it's the room over our garage where I taught piano lessons for years and years, and we just call it the studio. Makes it sound probably a little more fancy. In fact, you've all seen the studio. If you've watched my videos where it's my storage space with all of that crazy, those huge crazy rolls of batting, that's the studio. So we don't have a basement or attic in this house. So that room over the garage tends to be the place where most of our things are stored or kept. Look at that. Oh my goodness, the washing machine is making a ton of noise. Okay, so I've got 2 more here. Look at that. I managed to eke out an extra 4 stitches with that. And I could probably, oh, should we try it? Yeah, let's give it a try. I bet you I can do it. 2 more. We're going to play thread chicken here. Let's do 2 more stitches. I'm going to make sure that these are neat and tidy. They're getting a little sloppy close to the end. 1, and that beeping is the dryer, which means it's time to fold up those clothes. 2, and look at that. I did it. Used up every little glorious bit of gold. Let's sew in the end. Now you can see that the way that I stitched, I have these longer legs in the back here. Those are always a little looser, clear obviously, than the regular X's of the cross stitch for sewing in ends. So I always like to also do either a bargello tuck here, or the other thing that you can do is take your needle and take it, now you're going to go in the opposite way, just past where you came out, and then sew your needle back the other way like that. And then it doesn't matter that what you're sewing it into at the back is a little bit looser because you've doubled back on yourself. It's in there. It's really nice and secure. And then you can very carefully clip your thread off nice and close to where you came out. And that's it. And then everything in the back is, got a little bit of fuzz there from my, there we go. And then your back is neat and tidy. So there we go. I'm almost half done. And I love it. I love it. I'm really glad that I went with the gold. I think that's going to be super pretty. Oh, the dryer is telling me that it's chores. It's time for chores. So I better go, and I will get this video up. I'll try to have it loaded in for 5 o'clock this afternoon, an hour ahead of time of our 6 p.m. stitching date, party time. I hope you'll join us on the Facebook group, Friday Off the Grid. We have very few rules over there other than we keep it about stitching 99.9% of the time. We keep it kind and encouraging. So if you feel like that's a good fit for you, then join us over there. Friday Off the Grid on Facebook. We post, lots of people post pictures of where they've started at the beginning of the 6 hours, and then a post photo of where they've ended at the end of 6 hours, and lots of people don't. Lots of people post pictures throughout the week of what they're working on, and maybe they've got 3 hours to sit down and stitch on an afternoon, and they've decided to share their party time with the rest of the stitchers in the group, and it's just a lovely community. So I hope you'll join us there. And you know what, you don't have to, you can just lurk and enjoy all of the lovely pictures. You do not have to share anything if you don't wish to. You can just enjoy everybody else's projects and just quietly admire. That's okay too. We need watchers and listeners. And thank you for listening. Thanks for joining me today. This is always, I love doing the Friday videos. I'm always a little sad the weeks that I can't fit it in, because it's just nice to sit and have a chat. All right, so that's it for me. Time to do my chores, and then I've got a bit more sewing to do this afternoon, and then I'm recording an episode of the Fiber Friends podcast with my knitter friends, so I'm excited about that. Oh, now the washing machine is singing to me too. It's saying, you really better hurry up and get in here. So I will see you on Monday for a regular Monday FlossTube video. Have a great weekend and happy stitching.